Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of the This Week in Bronze. I'm going to be your host, Trombone, as always. The reason I'm talking like this is to get more of that podcast ambiance. You can notice the coffee mug if you're watching live, well, the video on YouTube. But I just want to let you know that we're also broadcasting now on Soundcloud. That would be the more relaxed demeanor that I'm deciding to take, kind of listening to NPR, having the coffee mug, relaxing a little bit. But no, guys, realistically, we are now on SoundCloud, so if you don't want to watch the video, spend all the time wasting it on that, feel free to check me out there on SoundCloud, so you don't quite have to put as much time and resources into that. If you're new to this series, we're going to cover things in pretty much 3 segments. We're going to talk about pro play, we're going to talk about the patch, and then lastly we're going to talk about something that's just really irritating in Bronze. This is, kind of my chance to get out there, rant, and so I don't have quite as much tilt and just general displeasure for my elo. I'm going to keep the coffee mug, though. I like the coffee mug, that's part of a bit. I don't know, I see it, I like it. Square coffee mug, probably not my best choice, but you gotta do what you can. Let's dive right into Season 2, Episode 2 of This Week in Bronze. So first we're going to start with pro play, talking about EchoFox. They're definitively now the best team in the NALCS. They're quite fantastic. They've shown now that they are definitively better than Cloud9, which is a kind of a big thing. There was a lot of competition. Is EchoFox or Cloud9? EchoFox has the more bombastic roster. They can fall apart faster, easier. But now that they've beat Cloud9, the ceiling really opens up for EchoFox, what they can do. Do I feel like they look a lot better because the league in general isn't as strong in the NALCS? Almost definitely. I can't say because of their dominance in NALCS they're going to have definitively awesome performance at MSI if they make it, or any international event for that matter. What I can say, though, is they're definitively the best team in the NALCS, and they haven't exploded, which is miles ahead of where I expected them to be at this point in the season, so that's quite fantastic. I do want to make a quick side note, though. C9 did really throw that game in their draft. However, despite the giant throw with a really interesting team comp, Lucia top, and just it wasn't very cohesive. It didn't make a lot of sense in the 5v5 team fight, and that just seems to be where the meta is for the pros right now. C9 giving Licorice Lucian top lane, I think gives a lot of confidence to that roster. Being able to say, hey Licorice, you came into the season and a lot of people were flaming us for picking you up because you're kind of an unknown quantity on this team. Giving him the Lucian, giving him the confidence to pick Lucian into GP, saying, you know what, we believe in you. We believe that you can do this. I think long-term effects of that particular move, although short-term it lost them the game, I think long-term it's going to bring that roster a lot closer together. I think it brings Licorice up. I don't think it improves his play or anything, but it does, bring up what he can do better. I think it's just it's a nice opening point. And it's a nice opening up. Last week was the week to watch EchoFox. I think this is the week to watch Cloud9 to see really how high they can go, how well they can execute. It's just the way it is. But they're definitely the best team in the league. I think I'm really excited. It's hard for me to get excited about a team with Dardoch on it. However, they have now shown me that they're not going to explode. So now I'm looking for that ceiling, looking how high they can go. Excuse me. Which brings me to the rest of the league. SKT, I know I covered it last episode, and the only reason I bring it up again is because now they're 4-5. They were, 1-5, 2-5? They've brought it back significantly. But TSM, CLG, Guardians to an extent, now 100 Thieves are starting to look like they're falling apart. But I'm going to focus mainly on TSM and CLG because they're more known qualities as orgs. We've seen them for longer. They're still striving not to be the bottom of the pack. I really thought that they turned around. I was ready to hop off the flame train. But now I have to hop back on it because the problems that were presented by those two teams haven't gone anywhere. They had a good week beyond that, they haven't had much of anything. So despite their 2-0 weeks in week 3, their week 4, week 5 performances were just very lackluster, and I don't think they open up a lot to what these teams' potential really holds. So SKT is stepping up, but I think TSM and CLG have some core roster issues or organizational issues that don't enable them to succeed at a level that they need to. SKT fixed their problems. They put Tall in the top lane, and they moved Wolf back to support, and now they have Blossom in the jungle with Blank as a substitute. That really worked for them. That really turned them around. Tall seems to be their option, or their answer, and putting Wolf back in support seems to be their answer. I don't think every team needs to make a roster change to work and stop whatever woes that they're having, but it's a definite help. It's a definite starting point, and I think it's at least going into summer season, or summer split, not at the maybe not now in the spring split, but at the end of spring split going into summer split. Maybe that's something you need to consider, because something within those rosters or within the organization as a whole isn't working, and it's a nice starting point to try to get you out of striving for not being bottom of the pack. It's unfortunate because Golden Guardians, to an extent, are stepping up. Clutch and FlyQuest are definitely stepping up, and if you don't step up soon, you will miss playoffs. And the two endemic great of old teams in the league are just not going to make playoffs, and it's surprising to me. It's super surprising to me. I expected both of these teams to at least be top 4. On an off swing, they do really bad, maybe 6th, but I think top 4 for these two teams was a very acceptable place to put them, and now I don't think that's a possibility at this point. Almost, I feel like top 6 is going to be the dream, and it's like I said, I don't think a roster move right now is going to solve the problems. It did work for SKT, but with the non-threat of relegation, I guess you don't really have to change your rosters. You can try to make it work, but going into summer split, it might be something that these two teams actually need to seriously consider. And then I'm going to follow that up by a team that did well, doesn't necessarily have issues, but is starting to have issues. Team Liquid. Are they falling apart, or are they just having like the curse of the super team where they can't step up in games that matter? If they're just going to fall apart because they have so much confidence and arrogance within their team. You saw it last year with KT Rolster in Korea. KT Rolster made it super far. Every game that mattered, though, in playoffs, they lost. They lost at the end of the gauntlet to their last chance to make it into Worlds, and they just blew it. Granted, the team that won, Samsung, did make it to the finals and are world champions, but regardless, are they getting this curse of the super team where they have the star power, so they just quit on the league, especially when you see a league that's doing quite poorly as a whole? Do you just have too much arrogance? Are you too confident going into games and not giving enough respect over to your opponents, where you just straight up lose games? Or are they toying with a lead that they did have? They thought they had a pretty secure playoff spot, trying some different comps. There's a lot of questions around TL right now, but they were definitely the biggest underperformer in Week 5 that I can even think of. The teams that failed, I expected to fail. The teams that did well, not quite as expected. But again, the team that I did not expect to just completely 0-2 and look really sloppy was TL. So it's surprising. And like I said, I don't think they have core issues that they need to fix. But if they aren't giving due respect to their opponents, they should probably reevaluate what they're doing. I know they're triple blocking to try to prepare for playoffs or whatever, but it almost seems to be hurting them as a team. So TL is probably going to be my team to watch this week. I like to finish with a team to watch for NALCS. Team Liquid's definitely going to be that team for me. They started really strong, fell off really, really hard this week, and this isn't going to be a ceiling or floor kind of showing from them, but definitely a team to keep an eye on to see if they keep falling apart or if they can actually bring their game up. Moving now, though, into the new patch, 8.4. It should drop later this morning when I'm recording. I might be able to upload it before it drops as well. Regardless, it has not dropped. I have no idea the actual impact that this is going to have on the live servers. So, I'm going to take a drink from this coffee cup because we're super professional now. And we're going to talk about it. Big one. Oh, there's a lot of big ones, but the front page header highlight is AP item reworks. So they took Lost Chapter, they gave it 10% CDR, and they made it build into a couple things. It's going to build into Leandries now. It's going to build into, not into Morellonomicon, surprisingly. It's going to build into Luden's Echo, and I believe it is... Oh my gosh, I'm losing it. Leandries, Luden's, and a third item that I will describe later. Like I didn't say it, but there was going to be a lot of mist because there's this like huge patch. Essentially, the item reworks are more of like optimizations, the way I see it. Obviously, we've added the new orb, the orb that gives movement speed, so you can chase down a little better, go down like Echo perhaps. And that is going to do its own thing really well, but a lot of it is optimization. Leandries is still going to be Leandries. It's still going to do damage over time. It's not going to quite do it in the same way. Morellonomicon is still going to apply grievous wounds. Again, probably won't do it in the same way, though. Luden's Echo is still going to provide lots of burst damage. It's going to do a nice on-hit kind of thing, but perhaps it's not going to give some of the other stats that it might have. Now they get 20% CDR on anything that has the Lost Chapter. Any subsequent Lost Chapter item is only going to give you 10% because the 10% on the Lost Chapter is unique. So every item that you build after that with the Lost Chapter in it is still going to give you 10% additional, but that first one's going to give you 20, and every additional is going to be 10. So they still do what they're going to do, they just do it a little bit better, a little bit more tuned in Riot's eyes. Again, Leandries is still going to do damage over time. It's not going to have Magic Pen, though. You know, it's not going to... Luden's is now going to still do a lot of burst damage. It's still going to be its thing. However, it's not going to give you the movement speed. It's going to give more mana. So, a rework, yes. Adding an entirely new orb that gives movement speed. Changing up the build path of Morello. Huge things. Adding spooky ghosts back in the form of Twin Shadows. All big things. However, everything that we've seen before is still going to do essentially what it did before, maybe just a bit more, again, optimized. Spooky Ghosts and Twin Shadows, by the way, being back, that's super exciting. Now I'm excited to see the possibilities of Glacial Augment again. I was really excited when I got to see the Spooky Ghost Glacial Augment interaction before. Exceptionally excited to see that now. But that's AP, that's mid lane, who cares? I'm just kidding. A lot of people care because Zoe also got a nerf. Yay! She got nerfed all over the place. Essentially less one-shot potential. She probably still can the way her kit's set up because that's the way her kit is set up, is for her Q to be able to one-shot. However, maybe not as early and maybe not as effectively. You can't do it through minions now. So, that's what's going on with Zoe. Top lane is toned down to not be a mandatory GP and Gnar lane. So there's more cost on the GPQ, and cooldown refund on Gnar is way up, plus a frozen malage ranged attack nerf as well. It's kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie. Watching pro play especially, you just see GP Gnar. You know the lane matchup very well at this point, because from 8.1 to 8.3 it's been the meta. Obviously a few different picks in there, but GP Gnar, some iteration of that is going to make it through pick ban phase. By toning the power level on both GP and Gnar down, it opens up the top lane a bit. I feel like it was really constricted. It opens it up a bit now. Ornn, I think, has a little bit higher of a possibility or potential. However, he still had a pretty high potential, but his E damage is up and the cooldown is on W is up, but it does more damage. So more potential there, but again, I don't think that it necessarily, you know, it doesn't restrict the top lane like it already was. It doesn't like open up to new laners, but only Ornn and Camille, you know, because Ornn and Camille, not the most exciting matchup, not really easy to get ahead on Camille's part. Anyway, but that it's not just going to be single-handedly GPNR, which is really nice. I've really liked what Riot's done over the past 6 months, even really opening up play styles. But I feel like between Runes Reforged and Kleptomancy and everything that the way that everything sort of panned out, GPNR were kind of the top lane, and that they opened that up and allowed other picks to swarm into the top lane now is actually super impactful, and I'm really excited to see what that does to the game, especially on pro play, because it's fun. Fiddlestick's got some changes. He doesn't do bonus damage to minions, but it now does more to jungle monsters. So hopefully we can not see Fiddlesport. Maybe probably will, because it doesn't stop him from being annoying. His E doing less damage to minions maybe opens him up to more support even no more, because he can't take CS, but still equally as annoying. Anyway, Fiddlesticks has a buff. Rengar's Q is reverted. I don't play Rengar, but a lot of people have been asking for it, so there it is. Congratulations, Rengar players. Your Q is back from before rework Rengar. Kog'Maw is also back. They reverted the damage nerf on his W. And yeah, that's kind of cool. That's kind of nice. I'll talk about why that's a lot more important later when I talk about Baron and Elder Dragon buffs and how they have also been changed, because this is the patch of holy crap, everything's changing. There's no more Tracker's Knife, so Lee Sin is dead in the jungle. Not entirely false, but not entirely true either. It's an interesting change, but I think this was one that stemmed primarily from pro play and higher elo play, where it was in a giant vision game. The macro was almost too immaculate. You would see teams unable to make plays because their jungler was constantly tracked on the map. There was no place that they could go that they were out of the team's vision. Now that probably opens it up a bit with Tracker's Knife gone. It opens up jungle picks, it opens up jungle plays, it opens up the jungle in particular, and it's just kind of a nice change. I don't know if it was the right answer, but it was an answer that works. So, kind of like the sport item changes that they made, that's about how I feel about this. Unfortunate. Zed's more annoying. He has a lower R cooldown, which sucks. Speaking of lack of vision, Zed popping out of nowhere and giving you an ult, one bursting you down every 80 seconds is going to be super fun. I don't know, that as an ADC, I just have to point that one out. And we talked about the Zoe nerfs. So we get to move into the runes, because this is a giant patch, and we thought we were done talking about patch 8.4 because we were done talking about the champion changes, but there's more. Finally got a bit from the other trees in inspiration. It might not be the best option for precision. So you get more out of, if you pick sorcery, you get that adaptive damage. If you pick domination, you get some of that AD/AP. If you pick from sorcery, you get that adaptive damage. But you get a less attack speed. Now you get 9% rather than the 18%, but you also get to take some from your secondary tree, which is very nice. Again, inspiration isn't the default best option as the secondary now, which is kind of nice. Moving on to press the attack. Damage is up, but the damage amp percent by level is a bit down early. Unflinching is now not a keystone, thank God. Ooh, lower cooldown or lower tenacity on a keystone is super impactful. It's down now, but whatever. Now we get to see something new called bone plating. You take less damage for 5 seconds. I think it's 20 to 40 based on level. 20 to 40 less damage after you were attacked by a champion, damaged by a champion, and that lasts for 5 seconds. Nice option for tanks, right? It's kind of nice. It's kind of nice. Unflinching, again, is still there. It's still a rune. It's just not a quite as big of an impact. Lower, more tenacity based on summoner spell reduction. It's interesting. It's interesting play. I don't think it belonged in a keystone, so they brought it down to a power level where it belongs. I just splashed cup things on myself. Fun. Stopwatch is irrelevant. I'm just going to go out there and say it. Stopwatch now has a 10-minute timer rather than the 6-minute timer. It still sells for 20 gold. They didn't bring it up in any other way. They just made it harder for you to use Stopwatch. So apparently Riot was like, oh, this is a really neat interaction that we could add into our game. It would make it more fun. They would add more counterplay. And then the player base hated it, and they felt like games couldn't snowball as effectively. So they took it out and basically moved it to 5-10 minutes earlier than you could get Azonias. It's kind of unfortunate, but it's pretty freaking irrelevant now. It's not as impactful in laning phase, maybe later laning phase, but again, that's when, you know, we're making... There's a lot of team effort going on when Stopwatch is available, and it's just kind of unfortunate to see. I liked what Stopwatch added to the game. It's sad to see it go. I salute you. Anyway, and also in the inspiration tree, we moved potions, the potion duration up by 20% to a rune, and you also gain 5% movement speed, but we don't have the cooldown rune anymore. We don't have 5% off of everything. It's quite unfortunate. That's what's happening in 8.4. Oh, but wait, there's one more thing I need to talk about. Baron and Elder Dragon buffs. They have more power. Initially, they have more power, and if every subsequent buff that you take from that first one is now incredibly impactful, especially on the Elder Dragon side. I feel like a second Elder Dragon with a reasonable amount of dragons beforehand, 2 or 3, is darn near unstoppable. It's such high impact now that these buffs have. It's just crazy. It's insane. Just take a look at it once. There's more burn damage. There's higher ratios. There's more damage in general. Ranged minions don't take damage as much anymore. Like they're harder to kill. It's incredible. It's crazy. It is insane. I'm going to transition that into my bronze ramp, but before I do that, you don't get 5 attack damage when you attack minions anymore. It's sad. You don't get that extra 5 bonus damage when you attack minions, because they thought it was going to be harder to farm without the runes giving attack damage, but they gave attack damage and a buff to every champion when they attacked minions. They overdid it on that one. So, with that, we're going to transition into my bronze rant. Because Baron and Elder Dragon have more power, that means there's going to be more of a focus on objectives. And what is bronze the worst at? Taking objectives. My God, have I seen a game stall out to 40 minutes and not a single Baron was taken? It's basically, I know my elo sucks, and I should really be blaming my elo, but you've now added something into the game where the smarter team wins. The team that is coordinated enough and not flaming each other now gets to win the game, and that's insane. It's crazy, and I don't like what it's doing to the meta that I know and love. It's quite unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate. Again, Bronze, I want you to be better, and that's why I want you to stop flaming people, coordinate, and take some objectives, so that way when this changes, you can make it a 50-50 game like it's supposed to be, not a 70-30, you know, depending on who's got the Smurf on their team, or who's smart enough to coordinate their team to get something. It's unfortunate. Maybe it'll teach Bronzies to get a little bit of objective control. I'm excited, but at the same time I am terrified that I'm going to lose way too many games because of the inability to focus about objectives, and it's really unfortunate. It's very sad. I'm not excited. I'm quite scared. But that is probably going to do it. Like I said, there's a lot of patch note things that we had to talk about there. Bronze rant not quite as impactful because there's nothing that's really annoying me right now. I'm just kind of, I don't know, in a lull. I mean, it's a passive feeling towards bronze right now, so nothing quite rant worthy. But that's gonna do it. Again, now on SoundCloud, feel free to check that out. As always, check out the stream if you're feeling it. Feel free to drop that like, comment if you want to, talk about some things. We'll talk back and forth, and subscribe if you want to see more of this, more of some of the stream highlights, some of the more crazier content that I have to offer. And again, now we're on SoundCloud. You can find that link up, not in the description, but that's going to be up top of the channel. So thank you right now for watching or listening, those of you SoundClouders, and until the next video / podcast / SoundCloud expose. Have a good one.